I wanted to tell you about a family I recently worked with. I'm gonna call them the Garcias to protect their privacy, obviously, but everything you're about to hear is 100% real. They were paying about $4,800 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens, New York. No equity, no ownership, just a monthly payment, making someone else wealthy. They had been talking about moving to Tampa for well over 2 years. They Googled it, they watched YouTube videos, they read every single article about Florida insurance, hurricanes, HOA fees, you name it. And every time they got close to making that decision, something just kept pulling them back. The headlines, the noise, the uncertainty. And then, miraculously, they called me. And 6 months later, they closed on a 3-bedroom home in Tampa Bay for just $387,000. Their all-in monthly payment with mortgage, taxes, and insurance, HOA, was $2,788. That's $2,012 less than what they were paying in rent. And this time, they own it. This video is the full story, every step, every number, every moment that they almost backed out. So if you're sitting in New York right now doing the math in your head, stay with me. So when they called me, it wasn't like, hey, Chris, we're ready, let's go. It was more like, hey, we think we want to move, but we're also kind of terrified. Can you tell us if we're crazy? And of course, I laughed because honestly, that's almost every call I get from New York. You got that one person that's ready to move tomorrow, and the other person that's like, yeah, but what about the hurricanes? And what about the insurance? And are gators really walking around like that? And listen, I get it, because Florida feels like two completely different stories depending on what you're looking at. On one side, you have the sunshine, the space, and the lower cost of living. And on the other side, you have storm headlines, insurance spikes, and market confusion. So what happens? You stay stuck in the middle, scrolling, researching, watching videos like this late at night, thinking, okay, what's the real story? That's exactly where the Garcias were. So 2 years of thinking about it, 2 years of almost making the move, and then 2 years of backing out at the last second. It wasn't because they didn't want it. It was because they didn't have the clarity. So what we did, and what I'm going to walk you through, is we took all of that noise and replaced it with real numbers, because once the numbers make sense, the decision gets a whole lot easier. But before we go any further, if you're already in that research phase and you want to talk to someone actually in this market every single day, there's a link on the description to book a call with me. You can also call or text because we actually pick up. Now, let's talk about those numbers. Let's start with what actually moved the Garcias from thinking about it to where this is actually going. Because this decision is emotional, but it needs to be backed by data. So let's talk about cost of living first. So Tampa is about 43 to 46% less expensive than New York, depending on the actual household size. So in New York, that's about $5,600 a month per person baseline. In Tampa, it's about $3,200. Same life, very different cost. In housing, a Manhattan 1-bedroom apartment is about $3,500 a month, and in Tampa, it's about $1,600. Here's the wild part. Medium home prices, almost the same range, which is crazy to even think about. But in Tampa, you're getting more space, no state income tax, and you're actually owning something. So when we talk about taxes, right, Florida has no state income tax, while New York is roughly $7,000 to $9,000 a year at $120K when it comes to income. So that alone changes the math. We're talking numbers. Since 2020, over 270,000 people have actually moved into the Tampa Bay area. So no, you're not the only one thinking about this. You're just early or late, depending on how long you wait. Let's talk about the real fears, because these are the same ones I hear every single week. So fear number one is the insurance. Yes, it is higher here. So the Garcias are paying $2,800 a year in homeowners insurance. $680 of that is flood insurance. That's about $290 a month in total. But when you're saving over $2,000 a month, that's not the deal breaker people really think it is. Fear number two is the hurricanes. Here's the truth, nobody explains that clearly. Not all Tampa Bay is the same. Two homes, same street, completely different flood zone. The Garcia's home, Zone X, which is at the lowest risk. This is a 15-minute check that changes everything. Super important. Fear number 3, leaving everything. Now this one's real, right? You can't spreadsheet your way through leaving family and familiarity. But here's what I told them. You're not starting over. You're joining a place where thousands of people have done the exact same thing every single month. The Garcias searched completely remote. And if you're out of state, you need to hear this. You do not need to fly down for every home. We did video walkthroughs, we shared maps, and we did weekly strategy calls. Super important. Their criteria: 3 bedrooms, 2-car garage, a backyard for the kids, under 400,000, good schools, and within 35 minutes of Tampa. And ideally, new construction, which is great. So we looked in Hillsborough County. We looked at Riverview, we looked at Brandon, Valrico, more affordable, solid options, but longer commutes depending on that particular location. In Pasco County, right, that's where we landed, we looked at Wesley Chapel and Land O'Lakes. This is where most of out-of-state buyers are landing right now. Why? They're newer homes, modern layouts, better insurance profiles, and honestly, you're getting more house for your money. So let's talk about the one that didn't work. They found a home that they loved, and I mean emotionally, they locked in. Then we ran all the numbers, right? The mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, the HOA, CDDs, and it came in $430 over their budget. And yeah, that hurt. But that's exactly why you run those numbers before you fall in love, not after. So when we actually found the right home, we moved super fast. That offer was submitted within 48 hours. And they got amazing builder incentives. This is where a lot of buyers are leaving money on the table. So this particular builder gave them $15,000 in closing assistance. That's real money. That's cash that you don't have to bring to the table, which is great, especially if you're on a budget. Honestly, let me say this clearly, and hear me please when I tell you this. Walking into a builder without your own agent, that's like walking into a negotiation where the other side does this every single day and you're just hoping it works out. You don't pay your agent, the builder does. So there's really no upside to going at this alone. So let's talk about inspections. Even new construction, we inspect. That inspection saved them $340 a year on their inspection. Inspection costs about $150. That's one of the best returns that you'll ever get. So let's break down those numbers again. Rent in New York, $4,800. Taxes, $650. Insurance, $50. Total is $5,500 a month, gone every month, no return. Compare that to Tampa. Mortgage, $2,325. Your taxes are about $290 a month. Your insurance, $233. Your HOAs are about $85. So that total is $2,900 a month. The difference, they went from spending $5,500 to $2,900. That's about $2,500 in savings alone. Over a year, that's $30,000. Over 5 years, that's $150K. And now they're building equity instead of funding someone else's investment. If you're in New York right now thinking about this, here's the framework. Run your numbers, not averages. Understand each county is different. Get pre-approved before you actually visit and learn the assistance programs because there's money out there right now that can change your entire deal. All right, question time, and hopefully I get the answers for you. So how do I know if moving from New York to Tampa actually makes sense for me? That is the right question. And honestly, it's the one more people should be asking themselves because this move isn't just about being cheaper. It's about whether it actually improves your lifestyle. What I tell every client is this. We look at 3 things. Your monthly numbers, what you're really spending right now versus what you would like it to look like. Your lifestyle priorities. Do you want more space, a backyard, less stress financially? And then we talk about your long-term plan. Are you trying to build equity or just maintain where you are? For the Garcias, it clicked when they realized they weren't just saving money. They were going from renting with no control to owning and building equity and lowering their monthly stress. That's when it stopped being a maybe someday decision and it became a why are we waiting decision. So if you're trying to figure it out, don't look at what your neighbor did and don't rely on headlines. Run your numbers for your life. That is where your answer is. What about insurance? Isn't Florida insurance insanely expensive? That's probably the number one fear, and it's valid. Insurance in Florida is higher than New York, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that for you. But here's what most people are actually missing. Insurance is not the same everywhere you live. Very different for different counties. Two homes, same price, can have completely different premiums depending on location, flood zone, age of the home, and even the construction type. The Garcias, they're paying about $290 a month total for homeowners and their flood insurance. So yes, it's higher than New York, but when you're saving over $2,000 a month overall, insurance becomes a factor, not really a deal breaker. Next question, how risky are the hurricanes really? This is where the headlines create more fear than clarity, and trust me, it scared the bejesus out of me. So here's the answer. Risk in Tampa Bay is location specific, not region wide. For example, coastal flood zone properties, you get higher risk. Inland areas like Wesley Chapel, Land O'Lakes, significantly lower risk. So the Garcias bought in a Zone X, which is a low-risk flood zone. That decision alone changed their insurance costs, their long-term risk, and their peace of mind. So it's not about avoiding Florida, it's about buying smart within Florida. This next question, we kind of touched on it on the episodes. Can I really buy a home remotely without seeing it in person? And that answer is absolutely you can. It happens every single day. So the Garcias bought their home after watching video walkthroughs, going through live calls. We have detailed breakdowns and a full inspection. Now, does that mean you should skip seeing homes entirely? Not always, but you don't need to fly in for every single showing. If you have the right agent, the clear criteria, and good communication, you can confidently narrow it down remotely and then come in when it actually matters. Is now even a good time to buy in Tampa? This is a big one. And the honest answer is it depends on your timeline and your goals. But here's what's happening right now in this market. Builders are offering real incentives. Interest rates are being stabilized. Inventory is better than it was even a year ago. That creates opportunity if you understand how to use it. The Garcias got $15,000 in closing cost assistance, a home under $400,000, and a monthly payment way below what they were renting for. So is it the perfect market? There's really no such thing if you really think about it. But is there opportunity right now? And the answer to that is absolutely. So if this even gave you a small smidget amount of clarity, drop New York in the comments right now. I'll personally send you my exact comparison guide I use with my clients daily. And if you're ready to talk it through, when it comes to your situation, links are in the description. We'll run your numbers, no pressure, no pitch, just the real numbers. I'm Chris Alfaro, and every Thursday I break this process down for people who are really, really serious about making this move. So subscribe, and I'll see you next week.